All right, guys. So we've got quite a bit, obviously, on watch today. Pretty solid start to the morning. Right now, my focus is going to be IGC, NBEV for the momentum trades. I think we're going to have a decent trade on AMRN, potentially Square, and a few others that I'll go over. But first and foremost, you have to remember that this market is pretty much in squeeze mode. So Tilray came down this morning and everything started to come down with it. NBEV started to fade off, and obviously the IGC. So IGC you have to be very, very cautious with. I wrote in the room my thoughts about it. There's two things that you need to be aware of. Now, I'm starting to put feelers back on just to, slowly but surely. I'm not sizing into the name. I won't size until probably open. And you also have to be aware of 50 to dollar type moves, stuff like that. So it's nothing that I want to get too aggressive with. There's nothing that I want to size into the front side because I have a pretty big padding right now. And I know that, a weakness for me is, you know what? What's it going to do? Keep on going? I'll add. No, I'm not going to do that. So the point that I was making in the room is, sometimes we want to absolutely nail a stock. And, you look at the move and you're anticipating a potential pullback or even like a squeeze. But you want to nail it with size. And so you end up sizing in, your emotions come out, and you end up making a decision that you normally wouldn't make based on the size, based on your emotions taking over and saying, oh, you got to bail here, you got to bail, you got to get out. And so just think about, number one, your entries, and number two, don't oversize, because you'll be surprised that you might make $1 on 10,000 shares, or you might make $4 on 2,000 or 3,000 shares. You might end up making more on less just because you're actually taking the trade versus reacting with a bunch of emotion that's going to throw you off. So just kind of think about that when you're getting into a stock. Also, when the trade opens, just like yesterday, IGC, fantastic shorts, but on the washouts, if you're actually trying to cover, very, very difficult. And it's been like that for a couple days. The same thing happened with NBEV, the first move. And to me, that's very, very telling. Anytime that you have trouble kind of getting the washout, there's that one washout that you either had to be there or you missed it. Well, many times those are the ones that keep on going, because anytime there's a lot of panic volume, a lot of volume that comes down, sometimes those are the ones that will stay heavy and start to fade off, and you end up getting it right. But the ones that you can't even cover a couple thousand shares here and there when it pulls back, those are the ones that they've got complete control of, that there's a large buyer in there and they're one step ahead of you. So you have to just take note of that. So IGC this morning, I started into the morning ramp, and then I covered some immediately. It was a great trade, great first trade. I kind of was thinking scale into 1250, 13s if I needed to, but it ended up just being the peak. I was anticipating that 7 a.m. rush because we've seen it every single day, and then covered. So I had a little bit of a padding. I put back on, just kind of added along the way, added a little bit more size, and covered the size immediately when I nailed the trade. Washed out again, covered some more, and then since then I've just kind of been dabbling. I put some on over here, covered. You can see the covers. And then I've been just kind of dabbling back in, but no size right now. If I want an eventual size of 10, 20, 30, 40,000 shares, right now I'm going, 500 at a time, 300 at a time, things like that, just to kind of dabble, see how fast I get swiped off the offer, because there's quite a bit that you can learn from just kind of being in the market and seeing how they feel you. Just like I was talking about, when I was trying to cover and I couldn't really get a cover. So ideally this goes 1150s, maybe even higher. And you also have to think, a lot of people probably didn't get this trade. So they've got FOMO and they want to, short, and then they scale in, and then they're in the same spot they were yesterday at $11, nervous that it's going to go to, 15, they cover, it rips, and, here we go again. So just be aware of that. Be patient for the trades to come to you. AMRN, ideally lower the better. I took some, you can see the prints here. I took some right there, and then I sold some 1639. But this one really came in yesterday. It's obviously had a huge run, but what I'm looking for is basically a washout, maybe 1550s over and under, and then start to trade for red to green. Then NBEV, same thing. Remember, this might actually get some more traction. If IGC comes in, this actually might stay up okay because they might rotate some cash from IGC into NBEV and so on and so forth. We saw that the first move. We saw NBEV get destroyed, then IGC ramp up. And then IGC started to come in, NBEV started to go again. So there's a lot of, I guess, tandem type trading here. Like one goes, the other goes. Same thing with, like we talked about, Tilray, as well as Krone, CGC. Both were very heavy yesterday despite the moves on Tilray and IGC. So you should take note there that the most real, quote-unquote, names are pulling in this market. So other than that, SQ had an upgrade last night to 115. It might be back in play towards 100 or above. But if not, if it starts to trade heavy, if the market comes in, then I'm absolutely interested for a potential trade. So I think those are the main ones for me today. Let me just double check on scan last night. Pull it up. So IGC we went over. LEVB. LEVB had quite a big gap going. Came back into flat and back up. They had just raised, I think, at 350 the other day, so it came right back into that. But apparently in this market, it doesn't matter. So there's definitely a momentum trade possible here. It's just more about don't get on the wrong side. If you are on the wrong side, have a plan. Don't size against it. But you know, in this market, it's possible that this thing goes 7, 8, 9, 10. And I'll definitely have it on a back radar, but it's not something that I'm going to be prepared for right out at the open. On that note, if IGC and NBEV come in, even though it's not related, I think overall the momentum in general is. And so if that's the case, then we might see a little bit of a pullback there. NBEV, we went over. Ojin, I haven't decided if I'm going to trade it yet. If anything, I'd want it to come in, and it actually did perfectly where I wanted it. I wanted 180s. Ideally, we have that again. In my opinion, it's trained everybody to always short the pops. You can see every time it goes, it fails. So you have to remember that. When it stops going up, just remember it always comes in. But for now, shorts are probably twisted. The volume, the volume can't lie. I mean, it's there. 40 million, 30 million, 25 million, 50 million, and they're just churning and churning and churning. And at the end of the day, this is a very thin name compared to that volume. So if they have enough shorts, they blow them out just like IGC, and it turns into a pretty big play. So I definitely like that off of if 180 starts to hold. Other than that, PDD swing was doing okay. Alt is still a potential radar just because of the type of market we're in. The volume's great. They've raised, obviously, but right now it seems like people are trading these regardless. So then other than that, I think the only other one that I would probably trade is GE. And GE is just going to be a reactive, probably 10:30 a.m. plus. You know, that's pretty much it. I always have a couple others, just big picture type watches, INSM, CIEN. They had some really nice fades yesterday. I'll show you the intraday. Just a steady VWAP type seller. So if it pops up towards this area and starts to kind of get a little heavy into the 30s, 30-20s, then I'd be looking to lean on it. But on days like today, when we've got a million things going on, I'm not as I'm not as aggressive on the other watches. I've got my main ones. I've got IGC. I've got NBEV, and those are going to be the main ones. And then Square, GE, that's probably it for out of the open, and then OGEN. So OGEN, GE, SQ, and then momentum trades, NBEV, and IGC. Be cautious with entries today. Wait for them to come to you. If it starts to go against you, don't do the add thing. This is the type of market that can run you over. So you got to stay aware of that. Also, IGC, you gotta think about. There's a lot of people. This thought process that I go through, but a lot of people have been bent up over the last few days. A lot of people are timid to short this thing, and when a massive blowout like that happens, sometimes the best trades come right after. So, I don't know if we've had that massive blowout yet. That's the thing. There's only 2.8 million compared to the 50, 70, 100 million shares that it's had. So, just have to be cautious and let the trades come to us. Whatever you do not size into the trade. And then AMGN was the only other, or AMRN was the only other one that I was talking about. So that's the 6 that I'm going to be watching. Obviously, AMRN, SQ, and GE are not reactive. NBEV and IGC are more reactive. OGEN is reactive if we had a washout. By reactive, I mean that I'm looking to trade it within the 930 to 933 kind of window. React to whatever happens out of the gate. And typically, if I do, I use the pre-market support resistance kind of areas for planning that trade. So same thing with something like IGC or NBEV. I kind of look at, okay, where was the support, where was the resistance, and start to use those levels as points of potential opportunity. All right, guys. So that's it. That's the plan for today, October 2nd, and we'll catch you in the room.